In the end of the book, To Think Sociologically, Zygmunt Bauman and Tim May has a reflection over the role of sociology in life and how it is both out there to be objective and try to relate to us how human relations are functioning, and at the same time is being used as a tool. And that ambivalent situation that sociology can be in is a kind of difficult one because they're trying to say, well, where is the sociology leading us to in reality, and what is really its goal and mission? And so they found that sociology is based on three basic assumptions that what can you say, that define it. And the first understanding is that sociology is a kind of scientific tool that wants to study reality like nature science studies any species out there. Like if you want to go behind how a beehive is working, or how grass grows, or how anything in nature is working, you use some scientific methods, staying objective and looking at them act, and then you observe, and through these observations you make some conclusions. And this is one way of understanding sociology that some are asking sociology to be. And that way of thinking is important as well for sociology, because without it, it cannot really go out there and try to find out information. So it needs statistics, it needs to dig into how things are working and stay out of it all. No presumptions and no ideological predefinitions, and no tipping over to any side or any for or against, pro or contra. And so that imitation of the scientific way of doing things is a basis in sociology that has also been deeply rooted since Emile Durkheim wrote his book about the sociological method, and it has had its discussions and widened out a lot since then. And so many times when you find sociologists are going out there, they want to make statistics, and they want to observe, and they want to look at how events are forming a special kind of society, or maybe how urbanization is working on how people's health is developing. Depends on what you're going to out there to look for and who wants you to look for it to understand more about it. The second thing, this is the first one, that sociology is about facts. It's about social facts that we can recognize, and they are totally free of the social sphere itself. So they are just like observers, like aliens from outside, if you can say it in a bit. What can you say? To put it on edge in a way. And so reality is not inhuman, but outside them. And so you have to look at it and understand what's going on by that, and formulate some laws of the human action in society accordingly to. The second idea with sociology, how it should work, is that it is not only a way of observing, but also reflecting and modifying. So sociology has a role to modify and to work on what is going on in reality when it studies it. Because everything in reality is not just things that's going on between humans that you can observe from the outside. This is the position of Max Weber. And he says we need to understand the meaning behind the actions, and that some people or some groups or whatever is happening in front of us is carried on by the humans, and the humans can have a certain hidden or known meaning and interest and agenda, some goals that you have to understand in order to understand how things fall out, and maybe go according to plan or against the plan that these people have been put, and how were the consequences of that. And so it is in a way also hermeneutic. That means it's looking for the meaning behind the actions and the observance that they are seeing. And mostly that way needs a lot of interpretation from the author and the person looking into the situation himself, or by extorting, or what can you say, extracting that meaning out of the persons who are really acting. And that's not always easy or available. But sociology has also this in mind when they go out asking questions, or maybe putting on a kind of form of questionnaire, that they want to ask some questions about the intentions, the meaning, the goals, what they think happened or is happening or is going to happen, and why. Why do they like it? So, to what extent do they agree on this and that? And what do they think the intention is behind a product, or behind a speech, or behind something that has happened in society, and thereby also elicit the meaning that any study field has out in a sociological result. The third one is saying, well, okay, but sociology is also about getting scientific evidence with an activity in it, or with a kind of action that follows it. So it's also based on the idea that you have to understand everything, not only objectively and not only the meaning, but also how it's working and how it is affecting everything around you. And so the effect of sociology becomes the focus here in this way of looking at the big picture or the small picture. It depends on what you are looking at and what kind of study you are focusing to find out and elicit information from. And so one of the big major challenges that sociology is facing is, of course, the question of being neutral or being biased. So if a sociological institute is hired by a certain company or political party or the rulers of a society to bring them answers to some questions that have been troubling society, it can be criminality, it can be people having no jobs and works, and they're in a way expecting already, by using their money on this study, many of them can be expecting some kind of answers to find out. Maybe they could say, well, go out and find out why these people aren't working. Is it laziness? Is it their culture? Is it the abuse of drugs? What is the trouble with them? Why are they so much anti-working class? And the sociologist cannot have this approach at all, because you will lose the truth that you're going to go out and find if you already have you are already taken in by a certain position, that like this one. But these people who have the money has the power also to define reality, as we have talked about through the whole book. And so sociology has also to deal with that challenge, that listen, I'm going to get you the answers, but you might not like them. It can be some kind of bitter answer or medicine to something that you really don't think is correct. I remember here, this is me blending in. I saw a documentary about how the Shah of Iran was toppled and his last days before that, and they had an interview with a guy working in sociology in Iran at that time, and was a prominent young sociologist who had studied in France or something like that, and had came back and was like in part of the persons, the Shah, the leader of the country, sometimes invested time in like asking questions. And this guy has been for a long time trying to tell the Shah there is something going on in society. There is a movement. There are some structures you need to deal with. And the Shah could not understand really what it's all about, and say, what is it they need? Is it more food, more plays, more theater? What is it they are lacking? And so he was so detached from reality that he did not really listen. And so some days before he got toppled and the things got really, really hot around him in the capital, he called the sociologist in. And this is a quote from him, or like retelling what this sociologist had been saying in the documentary. And he asked him, why didn't you tell me that people were upset with this and that and this and that, that he finally got to understand that, well, it's about the living standards, it's about freedoms, it's about their access to resources in society, education, and a lot of these things that had been lost, and how some were treated unfairly by the secret police they had, and said, "Why didn't you tell me all that?" And that guy was trying to say, "I have really been trying to tell you so, and showing you both reports and statistics around it." But it's like he's already taken in by a view, so he's not really listening to the sociologist. And then he got toppled, of course. And so the lesson of this is sociology can be a very fine instrument of really understanding what's going on so you can deal with it politically, not to try and force your political view on society. And we're back to that very brilliant and basic sentence that we always know from Sherlock Holmes movies and books and stories, that do not try to let reality fit your theory, but whatever theory you have to try it on the facts you got in front of you, and whatever fits the facts must be the truth. So if you take away everything that's not everything that's improbable, you are left with the only probable solution and answer, and that must be the one that forms your theory or the idea or the result or consequence of what you are seeing. And so this is what sociologists, if they are true to themselves and true to society and manhood as a whole, will have to uphold, that they must observe on scientific level. They must also go and make the distinction, as they say, between culture and nature, people and others, and what's going on in the cultures. And they have to work on identifying the troubles that they have to deal with. And so lastly, they have also to put up some kind of recommendations reflecting on that society and what's the need of it. And the people who are paying the money or asking for that should be a very thankful group of listeners to what sociology has to put on the table. At the same time, we can also have another challenge in sociology, and that is the sociologists themselves or the institutions leading sociology using it as a framework and a tool to get what they want from the politicians and the people in society, because they are definitely out to get something prior to their investigations. So if sociology and the people behind it is out really trying to convince people of a certain idea or some way of life, or how things should be, and maybe that people should give up their wealth, or maybe accumulate more of it and go fighting each other over it, or maybe the opposite, give everything up to the state, let's just say these famous ideas. And then they go out and intentionally focus on where this is working in a way that fits the results they really want to get, and they only focus on that, or mostly, and show that the other places are like kind of exceptions from the rules, and not truly reflected in scientific studies and statistics. So it must be ruled out as an anomaly. And so when they go do that, and all this is my long comment, of course, it's not in the book, but it's like you get the association out of the book and starts talking about these things. And so when they go out and rule out the anomalies in their idea and the things that shouldn't be in focus, and focus on the things they really want to elicit and bring it up as a report or a result, and get the money they want or the society they want to bring forward, they have not been true to themselves, because maybe they are saying that, well, a free competition is really bad, we need the monopoly, or the freedom for citizens, economical freedom, is a great idea because this is the only way you prove yourself, and no problem. In culture, like in nature, many people will fail and falter. It doesn't have any effects. No problem. Don't look at it. If they come with results that, I'm just mentioning obvious results that seems crazy, that would raise the alarm clocks of anyone with a little understanding of history and society, but it can be more difficult to see through. And so they have also responsibility of being true to their field and their case. So finally, sociology is all about asking questions, saying what is going on what level, to what extent, for what reasons, what resources are used, what are the goals and the meaning behind it, and which consequences has come out of it or can likely come out of this. And so it's a beautiful way of trying to understand and make us understand society and make us aware on how things can be working without we really realizing it. So it's a kind of enlightenment tool. It's a way to become clever on who you are in society, in interrelational relationships, and when you are in a group, what kind of dynamics do go out there? Why do some people get it right and others get it wrong? And could there be some social mechanisms working there behind everything? Their position prior to the situation, can they use some symbolic resources, and they can use the capital of symbolism, culture, and economy to their benefits? All these things are questions that sociology, of course, makes us aware of. And when you first are aware of these things, you are able to relate and you are able to act. And maybe, even though sociology is not a policy, it's not politics to make you act on what you think and know, it is putting it forward as it see it, so you can see it as well. And when you understand the mechanisms, well, perhaps you can do something about it, or go and affect it in one way or another. At least when you see the statistics, you say something is totally wrong. I have to go to the politicians with this because this has to be corrected. Well, the number of people dying in on that exact road every year is so high that we have to figure out why it's happening in that area. And then you find out that, well, it's the area with a lot of people going partying, and people who owns beautiful new cars, and they have a certain age. They are almost everyone is under 21, so no life experience, very hot-blooded, and so on and so on. So you start getting the picture, getting the facts and the factors that's working on how things are going on that highway and why these casualties are so high exactly there. And so out of that understanding, you can form the policy accordingly, so you can fix it or relate to it or do something about it. And so sociology should really be enticing our freedom of understanding and the understanding of freedom. This is a beautiful thing, that you can go both ways with it, and it will be a great way and tool for humanity, I think, long to come. And it will also be opposed, and it will sometimes be submitted or maybe misused, and that's what happens to any kind of science out there. And so it has really to have the standards to keep to, and the thinking that's built on scientific method, on trying to get behind the meaning of things and trying to understand their effects and the work in real life that it is proposing or resulting in. And that why, and in that way, sociology can hopefully stay that tool of enlightenment, like a torch you can put in and onto society, maybe in macro level or macro level, meta level, or specific ways to understand the specific and the general, and to understand the micro in the macro and the macro in the micro, exactly like economy is working and politics is working, and so does sociology also works. I have enjoyed really going through this book of mine, an old book from the time of studies, and I hope someone out there will have found a kind of torch in it and happiness in finding somebody relating these ideas in an understandable way, especially maybe people who do not have access to education or do not have access to buying these books or reading them. And so anyhow, whether this or not, I have been happy to have made it possible, and also reviewing some of these very important ideas that Zygmunt Bauman and Tim May has been putting forward in the book To Think Sociologically, and the title is, of course, in Danish. Thank you very much.